Hello everyone. Today we are here to discuss the concept of grievance procedure as well as discipline. Before going through the session, we will first discuss what are the objectives that we are going to cover in this particular session. So first we will have discussion on concept of grievances and why these grievances can cause a problem in our organization. So it is very much required and it is very much effective when the grievances are sought at very initial level. What are the consequences if grievances are not being acknowledged at very initial level or uh, till it has been sorted out. Talking about the discipline, if discipline is followed in the organization by every employees, definitely it leads with the for the development of the organization. So taking all these objectives, we will first of all discuss the concept of grievance, what actually grievance is. So talking about the grievance in a very layman language, if we talk about grievance, then it is nothing but just a kind of dissatisfaction arises in the minds of employees, or basically we can say that whenever an employee joins an organization, he has several expectations, and when that expectations are not fulfilled from the side of the organization, a kind of dissatisfaction arises in the minds of the employee. Now that dissatisfactions may be genuine, or sometimes it may be the imaginary feelings of injustice which an employee experience about his job, but actually that don't exist. It can also be stated as a kind of dissatisfaction. It may be expressed, it may not be expressed. It may be in written form or unwritten form. Sometimes it may be justified, or it remains unjustified as well. And basically these kind of grievances have several kind of connections with employment. Now, why this grievances arises actually in the minds of the people? We know that, as we have discussed in our previous slides, that if employees are unhappy or they are dissatisfied with the kind of atmosphere, with the kind of environment they are getting in the organization, or some other terms that is related with the employment, then those factors basically creates the kind of conflicting situation in the minds of employees, and then this kind of grievances occurs. So first factors that we can talk about is non-cooperation from fellow members. When we are working in the organization, we have several colleagues, we have fellow members, and when we don't get cooperation from the side of those colleagues and those fellow members, then obviously it put us in depression, and this leads to somewhere grievance in the organization. Sometimes those fellow members or colleagues or somewhere else, somebody else put a harsh remark related to our domestic problems or any kind of domestic affairs, then again that leads to a kind of complaint in the mind of employees. If employees are not being provided with a good and safe environment to the employees, that also leads to the grievance. Inadequate compensation, when we talk about the compensation factor, that is the most important and the most motivating factor of uh, mm, factor that motivates the employee to be in the organization and to be happy in the organization. So if employees are not getting inadequate if employees are not getting adequate compensation that they are deserving, somewhere it leads to complaint or it leads to grievance. Working hours, when we talk about the working hours, must be fixed, and that must be according to the flexibility of the employees. If employee wants to work from home and it is suitable for the organization as well, and there is no harm in providing those kind of options to the employees, then organization may also opt for these kind of options. Then gap between what employee expects and what he receives. We have, as we have discussed earlier also, that whenever an employee joins the organization, he has several kind of feelings, several expectations in his minds from the side of the organization, that he will get this, he will get that. But when he finds some kind of any kind of mismatch between what he expects and what he receives, again this kind of grievance arises in the minds of the employees. And one of the factors, that is bad relation with managers as well. If we don't have we don't have good relations with managers or our supervisors, then the smooth relations cannot be uh, cannot be proceed further, and that may lead to the grievances. And if that grievances are not sorted at very appropriate time, then it leads to several kind of negative impacts that organization have to face. Now, whatever factors we have talked about, all these factors leads to the dissatisfaction of employees. And dissatisfaction basically may be regarded as a complaint, or it may be expressed from the side of the employees as a complaint. And it is obviously regarded as a complaint. When that particular complaint is filed, and if it is brought to the notice of the management from the side of the supervisors, then it turned to be grievance. And grievance takes the form of disputes if it is not being resolved or if it is not being acknowledged. So it can be said that grievance is a kind of thing, or it is a kind of dissatisfaction with if it is not being resolved at a proper time, it may lead to serious impacts for organization. Now, we have talked about the several factors that leads to the grievance. If I ask that grievance, the kind of grievances that employees have and they are not being attended by the supervisors or by the boss of the employees, then uh, it put a very bad impact on the employees as well as the organization. But obviously, if employees are impacted with the kind of grievance that are not being attended, somewhere uh, it affects the organization also. Okay, so if we talk about unattended grievances, that results in frustrations of employees. Employees become frustrated and they are not in the position to concentrate on the work. Obviously that leads to decrease in the productivity of the organization. Dissatisfaction, another thing that is dissatisfaction. Obviously, again, if employees are dissatisfied, they cannot concentrate on their work, and again it leads to the next thing, that is the low productivity. If employees are frustrated, if they are dissatisfied, then they cannot concentrate to their work. That leads to low productivity of employees as well as the organization. Again, if the grievances are not being attended, employees uh, employees can't we can see a lack of interest from the side of the employees in the work they are performing in the organization, and again that leads to absenteeism as well as turnover in the organization. And once this absenteeism or turnover uh, starts in the organization, definitely it is going to be a big harm for the organization. Now, if we talk about absenteeism, what is that? Absenteeism is the case in which employees are not present to their work without informing the management. And when we talk about the turnover, that is the number of employees that are leaving the organization in a certain year or in a certain period of time. So all these results we can find if the grievances are not attended from the side of the management. Now, every organization nowadays, we can see that every organization have a kind of grievance handling procedure. Why? Because mm, if we focus on these kind of procedure, and if these kind of procedure are being implemented in the organization, somewhere it is for the betterment of the organization as well as the employees. We can create a sense of belongingness among the employees through these kind of procedure in the organization. So basically, if we talk about grievance handling procedure, it have four steps, and the first step is the initial stage at which grievance occurs. As we have talked in our earlier slides, that whenever demands arises in the mind of the employees, at initial stage, it is either a complaint or it is a kind of dissatisfaction that arises in the minds of the employees, and that must be resolved at very initial level with the help of the supervisors or the boss of the employee. At this level, handling or settling grievance becomes is very easy, because as the grievance moves forward, it becomes complex, and it also becomes little bit difficult to sort out the grievance. Now, at this level of grievance, Basically, three parties are involved. That is the aggrieved employee, the immediate boss, or the trade union representative. Suppose if at this level grievance has not been resolved, then it is forwarded to the another stage, that is the intermediate stage. It is also it is also called that it may be forwarded to the supervisory level, that is usually referred to the head of the concerned department. At this level, the involvement of the union may be or may not be. And suppose if at this level also grievance is not being sorted out, then it is move forward, it is forwarded to the another level, that is organizational level. And at this particular level, uh, it is solved by a person not less than the designation of general manager ha- in the organization. Means to say, when grievances come at this particular level, it becomes complex, and a lot of people are involved in this particular in situation. And at this level, a person who is not below the designation of a general manager handles this issue. And as discussed, it becomes really difficult to reconcile the conflicting interest of the employees. Now, all the levels or stages that we have discussed were without the intervention of the third parties. But if uh, if demands are not resolved at all the three steps, then it is referred for the third party mediation. Means we can also say that if the demands is not settled bilaterally within the organization, then it goes to the third party for mediation, arbitration, or adjudication. Sometimes even the matter may be referred to the court, and at this level, the parties concerned loses their control over the way the grievances are being settled down, and whatever ways or whatever solutions that are suggested by the third party needs to be implemented by the employees. Now, we have discussed that the most important thing in the whole session is we need to sort out the grievance at very initial stage. Now, it becomes the responsibility of the first line supervisor or the managers to settle the grievance at their level only. They need not forward at the next level. But for that, they need to take a few actions so that they may be able to sort it out the initial level. For that, what they need to do, let's discuss. First, they need to take the quick action. Means to say, as soon as some kind of dissatisfaction uh, are put forwarded in front of the managers, they need to take quick action over that, and they need to acknowledge the grievance. And then in that case, employees will also feel that yes, my grievance or my if I am not satisfied, that is being looked upon by the managers. Now, next thing that the manager need to do, he need to collect the facts related to the grievance or related to the queries raised by the employees. After collecting all the facts, he or she needs to examine the cause of grievance. Why actually grievance arise in the mind of the employee? Then he need to take the decision, and after taking the decision, execution, the part of execution comes. The decisions that has been taken by the manager needs to be executed, and at the same time it need to be reviewed that whether the decision that is taken by the manager was right or wrong. So this was the concept of grievance, and if it is not resolved in a very smooth manner in the organization, it becomes problematic for the organization as well as the employees. Next, coming to the concept of discipline, what actually discipline means. Uh, in a very simple language, if we talk about discipline, it is nothing but just behaving in a right and desired manner, and it is expected not only at your profession in your professional life, but in your personal life too. It can also be referred as a force that promotes individuals or any group that needs to observe the rules, regulations, or the procedures in the organization, as well as at your personal level, that is necessary to achieve any kind of goals. and therefore it can be said that it is a process that helps to correct or punish a subordinate so that he she conducts activities within desired and acceptable manner. We can see that some of the people are there are obviously there are we can say that there are two kind of personalities. One kind of personality, they're self-initiated, means they initiate the work and they complete and finalize the work. But another category of the person is that some kind of force is required to make them work, and that force can be in the form of reward or in the form of punishment as well. So, talking about the types of discipline, uh, there are two types of discipline. One is the positive discipline, and the second one is negative discipline. What is positive discipline? As discussed earlier, positive discipline is a kind of self-imposed discipline. Means in this kind of discipline, or the people who are positive discipline, they are self-imposed or they are self-initiative. And basically, uh, where these kind of people live, it it tries to create a kind of environment in which the organization motivates their employees through rewards, appreciation, incentive payment, promotion, or any kind of constructive support. And obviously that leads to the motivation of the employees, and in that particular situation employees willingly try to accomplish the goals that they have set for themselves. And these kind of people generally needs less supervision to make employee conform to the organizational rules, regulation, procedures, as well as standards. Whereas talking about the people who are negatively disciplined, they to make them work to make them work, we need to apply certain kind of force that may be in form of uh, any kind of reward or punishment. That is also called as enforced discipline. And in this kind of discipline, employees are generally forced to obey orders and abide by rules and regulations that are laid down by the organizations. And if they fail in and if they fail to abide by the rules and regulations that have been laid down by the organization, several kind of penalties and punishments are there for these kind of employees. Or in other words, we can also say that the purpose of negative discipline to scale the employees and to make them work, and not and also to indulge them in a kind of positive or constructive work. Now, punishment is not anywhere pleasant, we know, because it causes resentment and hostility on the part of the employees. That is why this is the kind of discipline that results in only the minimum standard of performance on the part of the employees. And this kind of action is rarely used in the organization. First of all, the management try to make their employees by motivating them through several kind of rewards, through several kind of incentive, etc. I suppose if some employees are involved in in activities that are not accepted from the side of the organization, then management can take some of the disciplinary actions against them, like discharge or dismissal of the employees. They may be given oral warning, or sometimes these warning may be in written form as well. If they are not in the position to accept the rules or the orders that are forwarded by the management side, then there may be the pay in reduction in pay, as well as suspension of the employees may also take place. Now, Douglas MacGregor, one of the famous authors, have compared the rules of discipline with hot stove, and that is also known as stove roll of discipline. Uh, in this, MacGregor has identified few essential characteristics of the disciplinary action of an organization, and to make it fair and effective. He compared the characteristics of a good disciplinary system with a red hot stove, and to facilitate a better understanding of the concept, he found four similarities like forewarning. We can see whenever we try to touch a hot stove, it warns us that don't touch me, I'm hot, you will burn out. Similarly, if any employee in the organization Similarly, if any employee in the organization indulges himself in a negative kind of activity, there is some rules and regulations made by the organization that warns them that don't be indulge yourself in negative activities, otherwise you will be penalized. Second one is immediacy, means as soon as you touch the red hot stove, it will burn you. Similarly, it has been compared with the organization, that in organization, if employees don't follow the rules and regulation, immediately the action will be taken and the employee will be penalized. The next one is consistency, means no matter you touch the hot stove one time or two times, uh, it will burn you. Okay, means it maintains the consistency. Similarly, if an organization uh, employees are not following the rules and regulations prescribed by the organization, then each time they are not following the rules and regulations, they are being penalized. And last is the impartiality. Like we can see, if we touch the hot stove rule, if a normal employee touch, or if any CEO of the organization touches, both will face the same situation. Similarly, in organization also, these things needs to be implemented, that any employee who is at the lower level or at the upper level, he will face the same kind of penalty or same kind of punishment he will be provided with. So this is the end of our session. Thank you.